of some of the damage. I believe we have some of this. There we go. Now we're going to listen back into KFOR.
I've never seen anything like this in my 18 years covering tornadoes here in Oklahoma City. This is, without question, the most horrific I've ever seen.
Okay,
right, Lance.
Listen, we need to get this information. We understand what you're looking at and how horrific it is, but you are telling us children were in the Plaza Tower Elementary School, that the gentleman you were just talking to was pulling out third graders. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm racing over there as quickly as I can.
All right,
and they get a lot of people trying to help.
All right, Lance, and they're pulling third graders out. We hope that, of course, they were in their tornado positions, and hopefully that some of them are going to be okay. Lance is on his way over there right now. You got to understand, when you go down to these scenes and you see this firsthand, not just through the prism of the television, but when you're there living it, it is an extremely emotional event for reporters as well as all those involved. And Lance is one of our best reporters, Emmy Award-winning reporter, and he's going to get that information for us. But he's human just like the rest of us, and it is a devastating sight to see these kind of things.
Mike Morgan, we're looking at earlier video of the storm that moved into Moore, but that storm is not finished yet. Tell us where it is now.
It is not. It's over by Meeker, and our storm tracker, Mark Dillard, still has a tornado on the ground on the northwest side of Meeker. Urgently right now, I have to pass this along to you. With this tornado warning now for Garvin County, this is a rapidly developing tornado that could be significant in size. There is a tornado warning in effect for Pauls Valley. It is heading directly for Pauls Valley, and we do have Reed Timmer. Reed Timmer is on that storm right now, and we'll be checking back with him. But if you're in Pauls Valley, it is heading directly into town, as you can see right now, 442 or before, and then from there it's going to head on up towards Stratford at 511. That is a intensifying supercell circulation, which appears to be a tornado either on the ground or developing to the ground right now. Reed Timmer is on it, but it is heading directly for Pauls Valley. That is an immediate tornado warning for you in Pauls Valley. Let's go to the North Doppler radar, look at Meeker. Mark Dillard still has a tornado on the ground here. This is on the northern side of Meeker.
All right, we want to get you up to date on some of these tornado warnings that are ongoing here. That cell that produced the tornado and more still producing a possible tornado near Meeker. Tornado warning now for Lincoln County. That includes Chandler and Meeker and Sparks. And that rotation is going to be right around here on the southwest side of the cell. So right near Meeker and right along Route 62, and traveling now to the east at about 20 miles per hour. Also got a couple of rotating storms to the south of Oklahoma City. One that is well to the south, and a storm coming towards Pauls Valley and along 35. So we'll take a look at that, and you can see the well-defined hook echo there, and that is now coming into 35 in Pauls Valley. So heads up there in Garvin and McLean counties for a possible large tornado coming your way. Seeing rotation there in the signature just west of 35 right in here. Broad rotation, looks like a tighter rotation right there now, just off towards the west of east of 1582 road. So again, heads up in Pauls Valley for a possible tornado, most likely tornado coming your way and towards 35. And we also have a storm that is now just to the north of the Tulsa area. We've been watching that. Let's take you south first of all. Tornado warning for Jefferson County, Cornish and Ringland and Ryan counties. A big supercell storm, well-defined couplet there, velocity signature that is now north of 32, and some of the towns in the path of that, it's now east of Ryan. It looks like it's going to be generally headed towards Ardmore and 35 as it lifts a little bit to the north of east, as we have been seeing again and again this afternoon. I want to bring in Brian Norcross once again and talk about some of what we have seen across the region. Maybe we can bring up some of those pictures of the tornado. And Brian, this is going to probably go down as one of the worst tornadoes in American history. I fear that the loss of life in this case may really be tremendous.
It's hard to imagine that everybody got out of there because it's just so big, right? And very unfortunately, when we saw the aerials, we didn't see a lot of people moving around, right? That sometimes you see.
Right.
And it was wider than the Joplin tornado, estimating a half a mile or so wider. And in terms of intensity, it just looked like Joplin again, right? And so depending on the structures, now the good thing is in Oklahoma, there's no place with tornado plans and tornado structures and tornado culture like Oklahoma City, like that area,
Yeah,
and
right.
Oklahoma in general. So I mean, that's what we hope, but it's just, I don't know. You don't want to say until you know, right?
Sure.
And we know that they're doing their search and rescue now, and we're going to know pretty soon. A pretty good version of what's happened, but you don't want to speculate.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can take a look at some of the damage aerials that we've been getting from KFOR, but the damage has been tremendous. There was a school that was hit, and we did get word that there may have been children in that school at the time that the school was actually holding the children for their safety, and so they may have been inside, and it did appear that that school was severely damaged. Then we looked at a number of pictures of damage to neighborhoods, and we saw some areas where there had been quite a few homes that appeared to have been swept clean from their foundations. And you can only imagine that in cases where people did not have an underground shelter, in that case, that they most likely the toll is going to be very high in that area.
Well, you know of at least 2 schools that were hit. Now, it's a little confusing because I heard a guy from Moore, Oklahoma, an official from Moore, Oklahoma, say they wasn't sure everything that happened in the schools because at least some of the schools or one of the schools was outside of the city of Moore, and so that's a different school district there. So exactly what's happened in those schools remains foggy, but we have heard that there is a rescue operation going on. I'm sure there's rescue operations going on at both schools, but we know specifically from KFOR that at the elementary school there, they were rescuing children just a moment ago. We heard from KFOR.
Right. We want to go now to Jim Cantori. He is actually going into more. He's joining us on the phone right now. And Jim, this is just really, really difficult. This is, we're all fascinated by weather at the Weather Channel, but this is as hard as it gets, seeing this level of devastation, which we know has occurred today.
Carl, as much of an adrenaline rush as I had yesterday with you on the phone when we were, coming in and chasing those tornadoes out in the middle of nowhere, really ever since last night when Shawnee got hit, and certainly now with what's happened around Moore. I mean, I feel awful. And we're heading back to Moore right now to, join certainly the fray of coverage. We'll bring you the best story that we can. We are probably about 60 miles to the south. We went after the southern storms, and even though the storm started to rotate back in Moore, we stayed on the southern storms. And now just turning around and getting out of these areas, these rural areas, is not that easy. But we're heading back to Moore, and we'll let you know, guys, what we find when we get there. My heart goes out to everybody, certainly in the last couple of days, that has been dealing with these devastating tornadoes. Carl, back to you.
All right, Jim, thank you so much. And we were just taking a look at some of those pictures of the devastation. I don't know if we can actually bring that video back that we had just moments ago. That was the video showing some of the houses there that had been swept off their foundations. Here you see the cars that have been piled up. This is, I believe, this is right next to one of these schools that we were looking at, and you can see how the cars are just piled up. They've been pushed into the school essentially, and the velocities that we were talking about in this case, Brian, are probably going to be on the order of the highest that we see when we talk about tornado wind speeds.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at it, it looks like EF5. I mean, and the way we talk about tornadoes, the same way we talk about hurricanes, is EF5 is just everything at the high end, right? We don't really, because we can't measure the winds. All right, back to KFOR.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Physically, do you feel lucky? I mean,
I feel pretty lucky. Yeah, feel pretty lucky.
what did you see the tornado coming up on top of you here?
I didn't see nothing. Like I say, I couldn't hear no sirens. I couldn't hear nothing, and then it was real windy, and then all of a sudden everything just stopped. And being from Oklahoma, I said, that's not right. And so when I looked outside, I seen the debris flying over here, and I said, it's time. And I tried to let some horses go, and that's all there was.
And so it's Lando?
Lando.
Height?
Yes, sir.
H-I-T-E. Lando, if you mind staying with me for a second, because this is just the fact that you're almost outside and all this, we're actually going to take this in a second live, and it's that was like a practice run.
Okay.
And we'll have you kind of just rehash it for me. I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, so that was at that Orr family farm. That was the southwest of Moore, on the other side of I-35, not far outside of town, but it's a landmark there on the south side of Oklahoma City, and obviously someone working there and for whatever reason wasn't aware. Maybe out in that. All right, we'll go back to KFOR.